Having seen the introduction and the learning objectives of the Metro Map project, let's get started building it. Now, as always, I'm going to create a ripple over here. However, this time round, I'm going to choose Tkinter as my template because, as we discussed earlier, Tkinter is a module that allows us to create graphical user interfaces or GUIs easily in Python. I'm going to rename this to, let's say, something like, maybe Metro Map, say, develop, and I'm going to just say create a ripple. Now, this may take a while, while it boots up and stuff. But once the ripple boots up, we are going to, as always, get to the development environment. Just that now we are going to see a bunch of code already done for us. And that's because we have chosen the template of Tkinter. Let's just maximize this and then look at what this code is. In fact, it is kind of familiar. The first statement here is to import Tkinter as TK. There's also a bunch of other lines, but the best way to understand this is to run the code right now and see what happens after that. And then we can make a correlation of what we are seeing to what the code is. And in fact, that's a good way to learn because we are going to get started that way by, modifying this template. So when I run this, again, this may take a while, but once it is all done, you will notice that there's a window that appears for you. In fact, like I said, we can now, seeing this output, we can correlate back with the code that's written here, and that's actually a good way to learn. So again, we are importing Tkinter as TK. First thing we are doing is to create what we call a window. This window here has a title, Hello World. That's what we see over here, and its dimensions are 300 pixels by 300 pixels. Now you can see that this window is quite squarish. Later on, we are going to resize this window and we'll understand what all these things mean, in a little bit more detail. Next, we see this label says hello world, and that's because of these two statements. So basically, we have defined a widget here, a label called hello, and we have placed it onto the window. So it's basically packed this onto the window by using pack statement. And notice next, there's a button called click me. Now, of course, nothing happens, but it's a live button. Nothing happens when I click it. And that's because of this statement button, this statement tk.button, which is creating a button widget for us and placing it over there on the window using the pack statement. Now we're going to see all of this in a little bit more detail later. But notice also that the last statement here, which is tk.main loop, this is an interesting or important statement. Basically, this is telling the interpreter that, look, keep this GUI running for me until either I stop it from here or, of course, I, let's say, stop the code altogether. Now, before we wrap this up, let's once again revisit some important terminology which is related to the Tkinter. There are two very important concepts in Tkinter, which is that of a window and a widget. Now, as we saw, window is this outer window that we are creating. This is where everything happens. So literally, this is kind of like a big container on which we put everything. And what we put in here are things that the user can interact with. For example, in this case, a button, a label. You could have radio boxes. We'll have drop-down menus and so on and so forth. In the world of Tkinter, these are called widgets. So the general process that we always follow is that first we create a window, we add in the widgets that are needed, and then we add the functionality that is needed for these widgets. In fact, we will follow the exact same process. Part of the work has already been done for us because we started with the Tkinter template that helps. Going forward in the next few videos, we are going to see how we add the stuff that we need for our program, the Metro Map program. I hope this has been interesting for you. In general, if you think this way of learning by building activities, by modifying them is interesting for you, do look at our website www.ybyte.in because we learn Python programming through such fun activities over there. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.